Hey YouTubers, it's your buddy Platt, and today I'm going to show you how to make Cyser. So let's go! In the past I've made a video where we made a simple apple cider, and I've also made a video where we've made a simple mead. Well, this week we're going to kind of combine the two and make something called a Cyser, which is basically just combining cider and mead together. Real simple to do. Basically, we're going to ferment apple cider with honey. And the only two ingredients we need, it's real easy, and we're going to use 1 gallon of apple cider with 3 pounds of honey and make 1 gallon batch of Cyser. Well, that's all the ingredients we need, so let's get to making some Cyser. So we started off with our 1 gallon clean fermented glass fermenter. We've added in a ½ gallon of our apple cider, and we only put half the gallon in to leave us room now to put in our 3 pounds of honey. I'm using a clove honey that I found at the grocery store, but if you want to play around the honey, that's just fine. Like I said, this is kind of a simple recipe, so we're just going to use the honey we have. And once I get the 3 pounds in, I'm going to top off with the rest of the apple cider. You're going to have a little apple cider left over you can use to drink apple cider with or what have you. But anyway, let me get this honey in. We'll top off with the cider, and then we'll come back and get ready for fermentation. So now we're getting ready to prep our Cyser for fermentation. I want to give a quick note on something I just missed. When you get done putting in the 3 pounds of honey, before you put in the rest of the apple cider, give it a good shake. Get everything mixed together, whatever, because that honey will sink to the bottom as fast as it can. So give it a good shake. That's good for mixing everything, and it's good for getting additional oxygen into our mixture, and that helps our yeast. And it's very important that we help our yeast, because this Cyser, and like a lot of meads out there, are a lot heavier, thicker, more sugar, higher sugar solution, and it's going to mean our yeast is going to have to work a lot harder. And we're going to do 2 things to help out our yeast. Well, actually 3. First, we shook it, combining everything, getting the extra oxygens in there. Next, we're going to, if you remember from my last beer kit video, we are going to rehydrate the yeast. That's going to help wake up the yeast, get it prepared for when it hits all this sugar in there. And last, we're going to add some yeast nutrients. I believe on a previous video, I think a homebrew term video or something, I mentioned about yeast nutrients. When you get into brewing bigger beers, something like an imperial stout, barley wines, when you start doing meads, any higher gravity reading products that will ferment, your yeast is going to need a little boost to take on all that sugar. And at your local homebrew shops, or you can find online, you'll have this yeast nutrient. I'm using the Fermax yeast nutrient. So we're going to add a teaspoon in with our mead, because we want it, like I said, to be able to handle all this sugar that's in there. And just to let you know on the sugar, I did a gravity reading, and we're at 1.135. If you remember some of the beers we've done, the specific gravity is at 1.042 or whatever. So we have a lot more fermentable sugars in there than normally what we're dealing with when, let's say, we do a beer, an ale, something like that. So I'm going to put this in there, and I'm going to give this a good shake. Get that yeast nutrient in there. And while I'm shaking, we'll come back and I'll go ahead and add my yeast in, my airlock, and we'll wrap up. So there you have it. A nice, simple, easy Cyser. Give you a quick little rundown on what we did. Took 1 gallon of apple cider, combined it with 3 pounds of clove honey, we added a teaspoon of yeast nutrient, and then I rehydrated about 1/3 a packet of White Star dry champagne yeast, added that in, and we've got it in our 1 gallon fermenter, and we're going to let this sit for about 2 weeks in this fermenter. After primary fermentation, we're going to rack this off into another 1 gallon glass fermenter, and we're going to let that sit in a secondary fermentation for about 2 months. About the 2-month point, then we're going to go ahead and bottle it, and we're going to let that age. Now, if you've seen other Mead, Cysers, other videos, they generally will use wine bottles or the 22-ounce bomber bottles to bottle these. But I want to suggest something a little different and try 12-ounce beer bottles. And the reason I suggest this is you'll have more bottles, and after the, I want to say about 6-month point, you could start tasting them, and maybe once a month do a tasting and see how your Cyser progresses from 6 months to about a year. Most of these Cysers are ready to drink in that kind of range. But in the smaller bottles, you have more bottles, and I'll give you a chance to kind of taste about once a month and see, you know, how the flavors progressed, mellowed, just changed over the additional aging you get. So, like I said, 2 weeks in the primary, 2 months in the secondary, then we're ready to bottle, and I would start tasting around the 6-month period. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, feel free to share with your friends. And as always, you can leave a comment down below, or if you feel like it, you can contact me on the Twitter page. Well, until next time, bottoms up.